Welcome to the Professional Speech and Debate Association's Spontaneous Debate Finals. PSDA hosts tournaments just like this one and offers classes and private coaching for adults looking to sharpen their debate skills. Learn more at www.prosda.com.
Hello again, Theo. Long time no see. Hey, Griffin. Glad you are joining us. Let me look at the postings and see who is supposed to be here. No worries. We appreciate you making an effort to be here at 2 a.m. your time. Where are you zooming in from?
I compete from China. I live out here and coach out here, so this is my headquarters.
That's really cool. You're coaching out there for high school, middle school, intercollegiate, professional?
All of it.
All of it. Wow.
BP debaters and elementary to high school for everything else. No worries. I've had a lot of fun at this time.
I'm glad to hear that. I got to host the spontaneous speech finals right before this, and it was a really awesome round. It was fun. All the speeches, our speakers were awesome. So if that's any indicator, I'm expecting an awesome spontaneous debate final round for this one too. Dr. Ian Lampert, nice to see you again.
Been so long. What's going on? Sick. Nice to see you, Griffin. I really liked your debate in prelims. I just saw you round one, but I thought it was really good.
Julian and I actually used to debate on the intercollegiate circuit against each other back in the day. The judges accepted the ballots. Hey, Julian, long time no see.
Hey, good to see you.
It's finals. Oh, sorry.
I know, yeah. I know we're all in suits. I will have a secret. I'm like in shorts underneath my suit jackets. Not a full suit.
Correct. Yes. For our first of the two debates we're doing in this spontaneous debate final round, we will have Theo as pro versus Griffin as con, or Theo as af versus Griffin as neg, depending on your preferred nomenclature. And then for our second debate of this final round, we will have Julian as pro or af and Ian as con or neg. All right. I have your topics. I am throwing them in the all chat right now.
Okay, I can strike. I'll strike number 2.
I will strike number 1.
Great. So we are doing number 3. Self-driving cars will make roads safer. Self-driving cars will make roads safer. We have Theo on the pro or affirmative, and we have Griffin on the con or the negation. Starting 2 minutes of prep time now. All right. We're going to begin with our first pro speech from our pro speaker, Theo. I will start 2 minutes for you, and you'll be able to keep track of it up there on your first word. So feel free to begin whenever you are ready.
All right. I'm on the affirmative side of that. Self-driving cars will make roads safer for 3 reasons. That human error in driving causes thousands of deaths, if not more, every year. Deaths, injuries, kids dying, parents dying, people who are maybe don't realize that they're going to have a stroke or driving cars. All these people who probably shouldn't be driving cars have the ability to drive cars. This error will basically be completely fixed. And my second reason is that pedestrians will feel a lot safer. Like, elevators aren't manned anymore. That's something in the past. We've innovated past this. I would say elevators are safer now than they were when they were manned in terms of operation. And my third point is that in 200 years, people will see people driving cars like we see people riding horses. It's an archaic form. It's a very like people were falling off horses, people were being trampled by horses all the time, learning how to ride one. It's like, it's a skill that we think that's a dangerous skill. Why would we even subject ourselves to it? Why would we subject our daughters to it, our sons to it? We're worried about our grandma driving, just like we were probably worried about our grandmas on a horse. So this will all in the coming future, in 200 years, self-driving cars will make roads safer.
All right. Thank you so much. So my time will begin in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for judging these finals. First, I'd like to start down my opponent's case. So firstly, they actually say that human cars cause less accidents overall than the tech cars. And this is a huge misconception that happens traditionally with automotive narrative understanding. The reality is that there are less overall self-driving cars that are deployed right now. However, there are actually more crashes. Tesla themselves actually, over their accumulation of miles, reported more collisions, one for every 55,000 miles, as opposed to humans, which was one for every 500,000 miles, proving that at scale, self-driving cars are actually more dangerous. On their second argument, they said that there are people who should not be driving who are actually driving. This would mean that his advocacy under his alternative would be that the self-driving cars are fully autonomous without human interaction. This creates more danger due to what we call the brake problem. Self-driving cars naturally brake much closer to environmental hazards than humans do because humans have better brake reception. So ultimately, because he wants hands-off driving, this creates more danger since humans are no longer actively conscious at the wheel. I have two arguments here. Firstly is about the scale problem. When we see real-world data, AV and self-driving cars actually fail on average more than the humans. This is because we are, for two reasons, unable to identify pedestrians. And secondly, these AV self-driving cars are more prone to manufacturing problems, as we saw in Waymo in Wuhan, where 100 cars stopped in the middle of nowhere due to what was called a system malfunction. On our second argument, we have the environmental hazard. The most dangerous argument when it comes to self-driving cars is what we call sensor pollution. LiDAR and radar systems emit signals that actually interfere with other vehicles. These studies have actually been shown to disrupt and create visual interference and radar malfunction. This is why smart cities that have not been up to development actually are the number one reported cause of why these cars are not able to be safe, brake effectively, or operate functionally for all these reasons we oppose.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now we have 2 minutes for Crossfire, starting that 2 minutes now.
Would you like the first question?
Yes, I wanted to ask you. You're saying that you're assuming that the problems with self-driving cars are the current self-driving cars. Self-driving cars have just been made. So I'm asking you, in 200 years, do you think that most people won't be using self-driving cars?
So I actually appreciate the temporal evaluation here, but this is actually going to turn onto your side. Because what we've seen over the last 200 years is that with the rise of industrialization, we actually have more pollution, which links back to my second argument about how pollution is going to lead to more radar and sensor interference that's going to cause more problems. Secondly, we also see a rise of countries like the United States who've actually cut subsidies for green energy cars, more likely to default to oil cars. So the probability that you would have countries that are building uniform infrastructure that would allow for these cars to be safe does not carry the probability on your side. Now I'd like to ask a question. So you said that there are people who should not be driving. So just very affirmatively, are you saying that these people will be wholly reliant on the cars to drive them?
Like a bus.
Okay, so again, just one quick follow-up. These individuals are not being involved in emergency braking. They're not being involved in navigating environmental hazards because buses are driven by humans. So with these self-driving cars, you want full autonomous robot drivers. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so then what would your response be to our argument about sensor interference or the example that I gave in Wuhan about 100 Apollo robotaxis that simultaneously just stopped due to system malfunction? Is it just at some point in the future, the system is going to correct for it?
I would say that you're assuming these current problems, like the smoke issue, is a current issue. I think in 200 years, we're going to go way past using sensory, that's kind of current sensory uses to use these self-driving cars. They'll completely have innovated past that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Now we have our second to last speech of the debate and our last speech from our pro speaker, Theo. I will start your 2 minutes whenever you get going.
Great debate. I appreciate what Griffin is trying to say here. I think the problem with this debate for Griffin is that I am putting when we say self-driving cars will be safer, Griffin doesn't have the ability to make that now. Because if it is now, if self-driving cars are currently, I don't know if they're safer than human driving cars. However, in the future, there's just no way that we're not going to innovate to completely self-driving cars. And when I say the future, I'm saying 200 years from now, because I'm using the horses example, which was never contested. People aren't really using horses to get to work. If they do, it's like the way that people drive a manual. It's because they enjoy it. They drive a sports car because they enjoy it, because they have ability to, because they have the affordability to. But at the end of the day, all of Griffin's arguments are on the grounds that we're speaking about current technology. We're speaking about current conditions. He's talking about we're talking about automated cities, but automated cities are extremely new. We're talking the last 5-10 years. And when I say this in 200 years, there's no way that we won't have figured all this out. And I think that a couple of the arguments also that Griffin doesn't contest is that currently there are people who drive who shouldn't be able to, like people who could have a stroke, people who are tired, people who are driving during the change of time when the time goes back an hour. Now they're more tired. We've seen that human error when we're tired increases. People are dying more in cars all the time with human error. So in the future, this will be gone. I'm sure there'll be issues, but I would say that a pedestrian walking on the sidewalk is going to be much happier if they don't see somebody driving that car themselves. They'll think something is going wrong with that car.
All right. Perfect. All right. For my final speech, again, thank you, everyone. My time will begin in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's just go down my opponent's naturally temporal argument here, which is about 200 years. So let's talk about the law of what we call unintended consequences. So my opponent says that over 200 years, the only thing that will improve will be the trial and error. So let's talk about how this development is going to happen. This would require more crashes, more reactive policies, regulations in response to tragedies, which means that the cost of my opponent's roads will be safer argument has to be crashes that inevitably lead to the innovation. So over time, people are going to be less safe because there's going to have to be crashes for this corrective behavior to occur. So over the future, people are going to be less safe. But let's even assume their best case scenario in which the cars get better. Here's what's also going to get better. Cascading cyber attacks, hackers, system-wide glitches, and failures because our digital infrastructure gets more dangerous as foreign actors also have the ability to hack into malware and hack into smart city and digital infrastructure. So over time, this is going to lead to system-wide glitches, more cars stopping on the road at once. Now let's go into what our opponents did not engage with. They had no engagement about the fact that when you are saying that people are incapable of driving and that you don't want them to drive, the alternative is that they are now hands off the vehicle completely. This means that brake reaction times as well as emergency interference, which is critical to stopping crashes, is going to stop. They have no engagement with this point. This means that this human interference that is so critical for last minute emergency protections is going to go away on their side. They also have no response to the fact that there are environmental hazards that are going to get worse. No response that climate change has gotten worse, pollution is getting worse, emissions are getting worse, and that there's no way to streamline universal production of oil cars versus AV cars. This means both cars will be on the road at the same time. This means there's not one universal technological infrastructure capable of solving for all problems. On probability, they have no answer to environment getting worse that leads to more system interference. Grid malfunctions and cyber attacks mean magnitude of crashes goes up. The probability that they need crashes in order to innovate goes up over the time frame. We win the debate. Thank you, everyone. My time's up.
Thank you all very much for an awesome debate. Let's give our first debaters a round of applause.
Thank you, Theo.
That was fun to watch. I'm excited to hear from our next two debaters also. Let me get some prompts for y'all. Any questions, comments, concerns while I'm getting these prompts pulled up?
Yeah,
Good luck
just
next year.
one. Okay, no worries. Just curious.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions, comments, concerns while I'm grabbing your prompts?
No.
All right. I have these prompts now. Just to confirm, we have our pro or our affirmative speaker for our next round here, Julian. And our
Correct.
con or our negation will be Ian.
Yes, sir.
That means, Ian, you will have the first strike. I have your 3 prompts copied, and I'm going to paste those and put them in the general chat now.
I'll strike number 1.
I'm going to strike number 2.
All right. So we are doing number 3. Humanity should prioritize colonizing Mars over fixing problems on Earth. We have Julian for the topic as our pro or our affirmative, and Ian against the topic as our con or our negation. Starting 2 minutes for prep now. All right, that is your prep time. We will have a 2-minute speech from our pro or our affirmative speaker, Julian. I will start 2 minutes whenever you get going.
Wonderful. I stand on the firmest affirmation of the resolution resolved. Humanity should prioritize colonizing Mars over fixing problems on Earth. First off, I'd like to define this topic as a fact topic. So the way we're going to be weighing this is choosing, should we prioritize fixing problems on Earth, or should we prioritize going to Mars? We're going to weigh that on logical analysis, or whoever has the most logical arguments should win today's debate. With that being said, let me talk about my first of two main points, which I'll discuss in today's round. The first main point is the problems are unfixable. There are two major problems on Earth that are just unfixable right now, or unfeasible to fix in the short term. The first issue that I'm going to talk about is the plastic waste. Humanity has created multitude of pounds of plastic waste that has gone into the ocean, that has gone into the air, and plastic doesn't just biodegrade in a few days. Plastic takes millions of years to biodegrade. Mars does not have this issue, and it's an issue that cannot be fixed on Earth. These plastics can cause cancers, they can cause health problems, and can be a huge effect on the human body. Secondly, let's talk about the second important issue of the problems being unfixable. That is of climate change being past its threshold. Climate change has already reached its tipping point, and it's likely that we can't do anything to solve for it right now, which means that we need to look for alternative options, and that alternative option is Mars. Which brings me to point number 2, Mars is a good idea. The first thing I'll say here is that Mars is rich in minerals, which could help with building of electronics or other devices that could be very helpful for fixing Earth. 2, it can be used for future human expansion as kind of a test run. And third and finally, developing life on Mars and making sure that humans could live there could help us fix Earth in the future.
All right, thank you very much. Now we have a 2-minute speech from our con or our negation speaker, Ian. I will start time whenever you get going.
Buzz Lightyear always says, to infinity and beyond. Let's deal with the problems in our own backyard first. Very proud to negate. I'll begin with framework. Julian says it's a fact round. Judges, I trust you know that it's not. There is a should in there, which implies there must be a policy or specific plan he must advocate for, which means we're missing things like time frame or, crucially, funding. Let's go to his case because he gave you 2 contentions. The first argument of problems being unfixable are not true. For instance, on the plastics argument, there's plastic-eating bacteria that's been newly discovered. These are specialized microorganisms within the ocean right now that use targeted enzymes to break down synthetic polymers. This already exists, which means the plastic problem can be dealt with money and priorities. Second, the climate change argument. This is certainly difficult, but it is not an existential argument. It means things like weather patterns changing and erosion of coastal communities. It is not a reason to take billions of Earthlings and try to shoot them into the dark of space. Second contention is that Mars is good. This is non-unique. Mars is rich in minerals. There's a bunch of things on the ocean floor that as of yet have not been looked into with enough priority. Moreover, the expansion argument is not necessary or feasible because we're hitting population cliffs in the most developed continents already. Let's go to the negative case. 2 reasons to oppose. First, this delays solutions. The biggest problem with Julian's case is opportunity cost. Governments and scientists have limited budgets, limited attention. And already NASA's fiscal year 2026 budget is shifting funding towards human exploration while reducing and ending other science projects, demonstrating that they do not have the same priority. They've spent $35 billion on this since the 1960s. It ain't worth it. The second contention is no unique benefits. NASA is still redesigning its Mars sample return mission because of cost overruns and technical challenges. They can't bring rocks home. They can't support billions of people. I negate.
Oh, yeah, of course. So my first question for you is, why just based off of the word should solely, should this be a policy round?
Because should implies an actor and an action. And in this case, the action is clearly colonizing Mars. Can I get a question?
Sure.
Alrighty, let's talk about any technology that's been developed out of that $35 billion that could not have been developed by focusing faster here on Earth. What tech can you point me to across the last 60 years?
I mean, honestly, because we're not able to search up things for Spar debates, I'm not sure about the actual tech that's been for Mars, but I do know there's a lot of tech that's just been developed for space. For example, things that will keep internal heat within a spacecraft has been developed. the development of spacecrafts have also created faster travel for airplanes. So there's been like a lot of like mechanical things that have been developed.
Sure. And I understand that's about space in general, but nothing specific to Mars. Can you ask a question, if you don't mind?
Yep. Okay. So just on this idea of should, if there's two different things in this resolution that one, we should go to Mars, or two, fix problems on Earth, what kind of policy would the affirmative go for in this resolution?
Reallocate money from things like Social Security and instead put it towards space exploration. Reallocate money from climate change prevention and put it instead towards space exploration. You've implicitly made this argument anyway. This is an opportunity cost example. If I've got $1 to spend on a vending machine and get a chocolate bar, I can't spend the same dollar on a water bottle. That's the argument.
Okay. Makes sense.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's go over the problem's unfixable argument. How does your analysis hold in light of plastic-eating bacteria that we know and are cultivating right now?
I don't think plastic-eating bacteria has solved the issue with plastic in our oceans. And there's also plastic in our air. There's plastic all around us. And even if it fixes the oceans, it doesn't fix the entire issue.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now we have 2 minutes for our pro/affirmative speaker, Julian. I'll start those 2 minutes whenever you get going.
Good. I still stand on the firmest affirmation, and I hope by the end of this speech that you agree with the affirmative side. First off, I want to take a look back at this resolution. Now, this resolution does have the word should in it, but it also tells us to prioritize two conflicting ideas of colonizing Mars or fixing the problems on Earth, meaning that today's topic really should be a fact topic. It's not asking for a plan of action. Besides that fact, as well, for a smart debate, I don't really think I need a plan of action. I think we should just discuss the ramifications of either colonizing Mars or fixing problems on Earth, which there's a lot, as my opponent brought up, with ideas of funding or ideas of not much progress being made. With that, let's jump to my first point that I make about problems being unfixable. The first thing they say to my plastic idea is that there's enzymes that are breaking down these plastics in the ocean. But there aren't enzymes that are breaking down plastics in the air. There aren't enzymes that are doing this on land. It's an issue that still needs to be solved. Secondly, on this idea of climate change being past the threshold, it is an existential idea because right now fossil fuels are not declining. People are using more oils. Climate change is getting worse and worse because more greenhouse gases go into the atmosphere every single day. Secondly, on Mars being good, Mars is rich in minerals. Sure, the ocean also has minerals, but it's another reason that we should explore Mars, as well as the fact that was never responded to. Maybe this technology on Mars that we developed could help us fix Earth if we're able to terraform the planet. Maybe we could terraform Earth back into Earth. Which brings me to my opponent's case. First, they talk about delaying a solution. The problem is we don't have a solution to fix Earth, and we also don't have a solution to colonize Mars. At least Mars is another opportunity that we haven't really looked at as much as fixing Earth. And secondly, on the no unique benefits, I think there's a lot of unique benefits. Thus, I urge an affirmative.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we have our final speech of the debate and the total round with Ian, our con or negation speaker. I will start your 2 minutes whenever you get going.
All good? Imagine $1. If you think that 51 cents of that dollar goes towards things like cleaning up the ocean or cleaning up our air, and 49 cents goes towards Mars, then that means that you negate. If you think that it is 50-50, then you also negate. Because the affirmative has the sole burden of saying that 51 cents or more of every dollar that we have should go towards Mars and not people on the ground. Let's collapse this debate into the key issues, because the round comes down to one big question: what deserves 51 cents out of that dollar? The best argument that Julian gave you at the bottom of his case was maybe this could help in the future. But as Aristotle said, every good story needs the beginning, the middle, and the end, and a story that ends with maybe is not an appropriate narrative. Vote for the negative because the impacts are definite. You can spend money here for climate disaster prevention. You can spend money here for disease reduction. You can spend money here for poverty amelioration. We already have tools to help fix the largest issues that Julian is describing, and the $35 billion that we've wasted on Mars up to this point can be used to things like foster more of the plastic-eating bacteria that I mentioned. Notice also that Julian drops the climate change argument because it doesn't destroy the world, it just results in erosion to coastal communities and extreme weather patterns. And also, it is getting better. Think about China with their huge population shifting towards electric en masse and solar as opposed to being gas guzzlers. So this comes down to the definite impacts proposed by the negation over the guessing impacts proposed by the affirmation. We can both agree that Mars is good and it's rich in minerals. But if you're going to spend billions of dollars trying to get the minerals potentially terraforming, or spend that money right here in our backyards, it's obvious which one is cost effective. The affirmative impacts are not existential. The negative impacts are immediate. When you weigh it, you vote for the negative. But I thank you so much for your advocacy, and I thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you both very much. And thank you to everyone. Let's give you all a round of applause for an awesome final. And thank you to our judges for hanging out with us, spectating. We wish you luck with your difficult decisions that you have to make right about now. I believe there will be an awards ceremony digitally tomorrow in the form of a YouTube live stream that you could watch at your convenience, either live or you can go click and check with it later. I believe that results will be posted to forensicstournament.net and you will get your ballots back in the near future, but likely not today as the tournament is still running. We still got events tomorrow. And if you are competing in anything tomorrow with our IPDA bracket, I wish you luck. I hope you have fun. Nice work. I really enjoyed the round. I hope you all had a good time too. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Or night.
Awesome. Thank you.
Before your rest of your 2 a.m.
Have a good one.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Bye,
much.
y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching this PSDA Spontaneous Debate Final. Want to compete or take your own skills to the next level? PSDA offers tournaments, classes, and private coaching for adults. Visit www.proza.com to get started.